Okay guys, we're here again. Now, we are done with this head from Asel Kozureva, okay. Kozureva, I'm not sure. But let's name it. What is this? These are the eyes. So, eyes. But yeah, I will connect them probably with the head. So I will just do this, Control J to connect them, and they will be called Asel Kozureva 01, because this is our first head and from this artist, and probably we will do another one, we'll see, but this is our first head, which is cool. Now, sphere we add, and now we will try to do this head, which, by the way, this is from the guy called Aaron Hernandez from ArtStation, this guy. So he has very few followers, but his last work is called Jarl Portrait or whatever. So I don't know if he, because he doesn't say in the description, if he took this from as a scan or something. I'm not sure. Probably. I will not say it's not a scan or scan, but I would say it's a scan. Most likely it's a scan. It looks like a scan, but it looks very cool. So we will try to replicate it a little bit. First, let's diagnose it and then we'll replicate it. Let me just put my screencast keys, because everybody wants the keys to be on the screen. So let's analyze a little bit what is happening here. First, of course, okay, now the nose is, you see, it's not symmetrical, which is normal. Never, the real face is never symmetrical. So this seems like a scan. Also, the mouth is not exactly symmetrical on the corners. There are asymmetrical things that are pretty realistic, and it looks like it's not made from an artist, because it's difficult. And also, most artists, especially for the nose, they put some stylization, a little bit of the nose, and this nose looks pretty realistic. So I would say it's a real scan. It's a scan. Okay, so let's see. These are the cheekbones here. Cheekbone in the other side. And then those muscles here. And then we're going to this bulges around the mouth. And overall, what's happening is this. Like this. So if we achieve this kind of result, it will be fine. But also, we have a cut in here. Like this, because this is kind of a fat pad in here. So it's from here around this area. So this bulge is also from this fat pad. And then we have these bulges around the mouth. They're visible in here, bulge around the mouth. All right, so the nose is pretty nice, but also it's kind of going inside. The nostril is going inside the face again, because from the bottom, the base of the nose will be like this, and then the nose will be something like that, and the nostrils will be here on the sides. Okay, now let's see the eyebrows. They're very interesting, because you see they're like this, and here we have something like that. So this is kind of the temporal line is barely visible in this guy, but it's there. And then we have the eyebrow ridges. We have this kind of a bulges here on the inner part, those two bulges, and then we have the eyebrow like this, and then the eye starts from below, and we have this kind of fat pads around or above the eyes, on the sides only. On the inner part here, it's mostly bone in here. That's why it's so dark, because it's like very much inward. So the eyes, you see the bottom eyelid, but it's not so cut in here, because it's not realistic to be super cut. So it's kind of a fluid transition, and it's very cool. And the lips, of course, M shape on the top, and between the lips it's a little bit like M shape, but not too much. It's okay. And you also can see how on the sides of the lower lip, let me just hide everything. Let me try to zoom it in just for our convenience. Okay, so on the sides of the lower lip, you see here, it's like the lower lip, and it's going straight down like this. almost. But suddenly, around the middle, it starts to kind of dig in. That's where this deep shadow is, this. And then it's kind of blends with the rest. But also, of course, we are doing kind of a sharpening here, usually when you do it. And then we're doing this sharp line inside to make this plane, and then this plane in here. And he has it, but it's very, very subtle. You see, this shadow in here represents exactly this kind of a push a little bit in here. So this is the end of the lower lip, but this is a push in here. And then we have a little bit like this. So you see, in the normal, realistic human, all those things are a little bit more subtle. But even if you do them a little bit more hardcore, it will kind of look good. And also from the front view, you see this particular thing is here. Usually, from around the corner of the mouth down and away, is the eye socket. The bottom of the eye socket will be here. And then from here we will see another line that's coming like this. But of course in this area it's almost invisible, this kind of line. And then you start to see it here, but it's not sharp. It's just change of shape. It's not sudden change of shape, it's a little change of shape. And also we see this line around the nostrils in here. And this is a little bit bulging in here because it's a fat pad. It's bulging. But the line itself is not a line. It's just a change of shape. It's a little shadow in here. So that makes us think that we have to be careful with those lines. We have to not make them super sharp. And where is the sharpness here on the face? So around the eyelids, we have a lot of sharp corners. And also on the lips, we have pretty sharp upper lip and pretty sharp transition between the two lips, which is normal because they are two different objects most likely. And also sharp this area here. Just the middle part of the lower lip is pretty sharp. And also the jaw is very nice because we have, you know, the cheek fat here. Then we have a little bit indentation, and then we have this muscle here, which is the chewing muscle. It's here. And then we have straight line, the chin, and then basically straight line, and then we have straight line here. So we have straight line, straight line, straight, straight, and then straight in here. It's very, very cool. So let's try to do it, by the way. It's cool. We just analyzed it a little bit, and hopefully I wasn't hiding most of the things that I'm showing with my big head. I didn't, so if I did, but yeah. Okay, now let's show everything like this. Let's turn our symmetry on. I've turned it on already. I'm fast to turn it on. Matte cap, I like to use in Blender, I like to use this matte cap, which is the default one, not Studio Light, because it's more like bleh, and matte cap is better. Now I just, you know, do this and try to make just a basic shape of the head, which I know, because here the thing is that we have only face and forehead, but we don't have the rest of the head, which is not a concern because we already know how it looks like. And even if we don't know, even if we don't exactly have the idea, we have a lot of references in this same file, so we can go up to the skull references, for example, try to replicate a male skull, and then when we are ready with the overall shape of the head, we can go back to the face, to this face, and to do it. Amazing, I know. Now, let's make the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which is the neck muscle. Always do this. And then from the back, I will increase the size of the traps. And then I will decrease the size of the neck. I don't want this neck to be ultra huge, but we'll see. It's not, nothing is written in stone. Let's make sure our jaw is a little bit more protruding. He has a big jaw. Also, let's make this, the chin, a bit more squarish, because his chin is pretty squarish, we might say. It's like a flat plane, almost, and then kind of two lines going outward, and that's what it makes it look good. So next, I can just make this, and just smooth it a bit, but the idea is just to see what's happening. But don't forget that this is a three-dimensional figure, so you have to also cut around this area here and then make also the eyes. Just push to make the eyes. And then I will push to make the forehead above the eyebrows. The eyebrows, we shouldn't like make them like this. It's too much. So gentle, then we might need to even make them narrower, closer to each other, because as you can see, where the eyebrow ends, the face continues, because it continues backwards, as you can see in my face also. This face is photographed or just shot without, almost without any perspective. That's why it seems so wide. But our face has a lot of perspective, so it's not so wide, but I will make it a bit wider on the back. Make sure your focal length is no less than 80, 85, because otherwise you will mess up the head very, very badly. And even I see people who are making very nice realistic things, they are making the focal length, because the focal length exists here in Blender, also in ZBrush. The focal length, they are making it 120. Then you will have very less perspective and you can zoom in the face very much without any distortion. The distortion is the problem with the lower focal length, the lower than 80. So again, I will make a mask and then just extract some ears from it. And we have ears. Okay, from the side view, I will make sure those ears are going backwards, because from the middle of the skull back they go. At least that's the idea here. And let's see. Okay, I think we are doing pretty good. Now, let's increase the size of the neck, so we have a longer neck, we'll see. And the ears, we don't care about them now. We have ears, which is the most important thing. And now we can see how he looks from the profile view. So the profile view is like this. In this shot, he is a little bit tilted down. That's why his forehead angle is not so much backward like a real man. I mean, you know, aerodynamical, but it's a little bit more like a woman. But because he's tilted a little bit down, and you see how the nose doesn't go with the bottom of the ear, because he's down. So the nose goes a little bit below the bottom of so. But our guy here will be straight, so our head or forehead angle will be a little bit steeper than the reference. And of course you can make it exactly as the reference. You just have to put the ear a little bit more up. And everything else should be like the reference. And also he's tilted down because also his jaw is in a very steep angle too. I mean, this kind of jaw going so much down is usually reserved for females if they are looking straight into the camera. But if he is a little bit like tilted down, the head, then the jaw can go with this angle without any issue. You know, those things we have to consider at some point. But, of course, if you want, you can make it absolutely like the concept, and it will be fine. It will be just tilted a little bit down. But I'm not sure how tilted down is this. I think it is tilted down too. But it's also tilted on one side. Yeah, I know, a lot of tilted things here on this character, yeah. But it's a very good reference, and I assure you that if you are watching this reference and trying to replicate it, you probably will get a good result. For example, you see from the profile view, we see the eyebrow here, at the eyebrow line, and I will just push above it, because you see you have this dimple in here. And if we make this, our forehead will start to look more realistic immediately. Then muzzle of the mouth we have to make, kind of, and then we have to have a chin, because you see his chin is pretty prominent, so I will push only in the front area, mostly in the front area, and we will have something like a chin, which is great. But the chin should be a little bit bigger, although maybe I need more geometry, but not now. I will just increase the size of the nose a bit, the nostril size, and you see the top size of the nose is very, very narrow. It's very tiny there. So I will try to replicate that a little bit. And this is realistic. I mean, scan, so yeah. We can see from scans, you are learning the most. Although, the problem with scans is they're very specific. This guy has these features. They are not all around the features. On this guy, they are mostly nice features. I mean, the features that you want in your superhero model or something. But there are guys, like, for example, like me and stuff, who doesn't have, like, nice, you know, square jaw, and some other features are a little bit off. That's why we have to be careful with the scans. It's not always the best tool, but it's usually. So now what I will do is I will push all the features a little bit more in. I don't want to go, because you see how from the eye, if we go down from the eye, you see the corner of the mouth is there. So from the eye down, the corner of the mouth should be here. Of course, as I said, he's tilted a little bit forward, so but we'll see how it will go. Now let's add a little bit of geometry, at least double or triple, then smooth it, because we already have our main features and we are about to continue with the other features. Now I will make sure I inflate the front of the nose and then smooth it, because we need more geometry in there and to have it. And then I will make sure I kind of make the nose work. So his nose, as we can see, is not going forward like ours. His nose is going kind of down, mostly down, not so forward. So I will make it's his nose is kind of a thick, but it looks good, it looks realistic, so I will just do it. I'll just try to replicate it. The distance between the nose and the upper lip is, in this case, is absolutely vertical, but since he's again tilted the head down, it in our case could be a little bit not so vertical. Of course, as I told you, I am trying the most difficult thing to imagine how he will look if it's not tilted. But of course we can tilt the picture itself. I'm not sure how it was done, but let's see. Not with control, probably, yeah, with control. So this probably will more like it. This will be more like it. But still, yeah, this will be better. But this will be better for this. But for this, for the front view, it will not be better. Definitely it will not be. But as we see, I have my cheekbones. We have this kind of a shadow here, which means below the cheekbones he has this chewing muscle. And then he have kind of a in the indentation, or yeah, something like push, depression, just in front of those muscles. And it will work. It will work when we are careful with our reference, seeing the shadows where they are, because this particular head has very nice shadows, and it's very nice indication where are the depressions and where are the you know, the bumps. It will be fine. So the thing I like to do is above the ear I will push, and then here I will just keep pushing a bit over the eyebrow, and then here will be our temporal line, which in this case it's not very prominent, so I will just do it and then smooth it, but it has to be there. It's a kind of a plane change there, so if we don't do it, probably will be bad. We will have a bad day. But overall, you see how it looks a little bit more realistic, because we are watching a realistic, non-stylized character. We are watching a real character with real features, softer, and yeah, but realistic, which can be nice, can be cool. Of course, can be a little bit problematic for some people, because it could be a little bit more frustrating, probably, because it's too realistic. And in the beginning, I don't recommend super realistic faces. I recommend stylization, because you will understand forms better with stylization. But since we already talked about the forms with this guy, so control, and let's see the front here. I'm rotating with Control and left mouse button. Now my eyes are getting a lot bigger than his, so we have to be careful. I will push and pull so the lower eyelid doesn't go below the lower eyelid doesn't go too deep. I don't want it to go too deep. So sometimes I have to go and just pull the skin and pull it out a little bit because it's going too deep. That's why. And we don't want that, definitely. The upper eyelid I will make. And then this fat part, which is kind of ending here. And then here on the inner part of the eye, we'll have just a crease over the eye itself. And then with the move brush, or the grab brush in this case, I will just try to achieve the form of the eye that this guy has. Almost from the bottom, always half sphere, or not exactly half sphere, but spherical. Don't make it flat here. I mean flat like this. No, it shouldn't be flat at all. It should be kind of spherical, because if you want to fit an eyeball inside, it will be easier if it's spherical, of course. And then, of course, if you put the eyeball, and the eyeball is the right size, not bigger, not smaller, the right size, then it will be easy to kind of fit the eyelashes or eyelids around it. But from the side view, I always like to push the lower eyelid a little bit behind the upper eyelid. So the upper eyelid should be visible from the bottom if we look, and the lower eyelid should be a little bit more behind it, like this. Behind. Yeah. Amazing. Now, his eyebrows are falling down over the eyes, which looks very cool and very manly. If you're doing a female, you shouldn't do this exact thing, but in a male, it looks pretty cool. That's why we are doing it. And this is a very cool practice, by the way, to do this particular guy and to try to achieve his eyebrows and his forehead, because it's very, very cool. Of course, on the forehead, we see very subtle this. We see very subtle this design like this. Very subtle, we see here this. And, you know, this pushes here. This is kind of... there. By the way, if you don't notice, there are two bumps in here. You see? 1 and 2. But they are very subtly... I mean, it's almost invisible, this distance between those two. It's shading, but it's a little shading in here we see, which is indicating this. It's very subtle. So don't make it too obvious. Make a little bit of subtlety there. Make it visible. It's there, but very subtle. So yeah, it's important, very important to be subtle, because if you're not, you're ruined. You're, you know, basically. No. Now, those things I will push, and then from the side view, yes, we have this kind of a round shape in here, and yeah, it's looking good. Now let's see the ears, how they go. From the side view especially, we will see them. Okay, so we have the question, we have the Y shape inside, but the Y shape is a little bit not so Y, but we'll see. Now let's push this inner part of the question mark, the beginning of the question mark, we might say. Let's push the corners of the question mark, the inner corner, and until here it disappears, until this area here. It's like this, and then disappear. You see, it's here, disappears. And okay, doesn't matter for us. Now the Y, it will go like this. The question mark will go in, and the Y will go above it. But it's, you know, have to be careful. Now the ear hole will be around here, and basically we have it. Of course, let's see it from here. Looks very cool, because it's a realistic ear, and I am positive that this is a scan. So the guy hasn't mentioned that it's a scan, but seeing his other works, he has only 2 more figures, and he has some environments. So he is mostly rendering and grooming and doing such stuff, but with scans. He's working with scans. So it's not so impressive, the things that he do, although probably some of the things that he do I cannot do. But he probably cannot sculpt a real and nice looking character by himself, which is not a big issue obviously, because he can find some scans. So I'll push the ears even more in. Alright, and now I will check the chin, I mean make the chin a little bit narrower. And now what are we noticing? Yeah, the ears are too much in this part, so I'll fix it a bit. But it doesn't matter. What we notice is, you see, almost a straight line here, almost a straight line here, but going a little bit in. As you can see, they're not parallel vertical lines. They're going a little bit in. Not so much as this, but a little bit. And then here, curve, and then straight line. Curve, straight line, and then curve, straight line, but a little bit even like this. And this is the shape of the male face, especially the heroic face with the square jaw. Here we will have sometimes visible the chewing muscle, a little bit indentation for that. We'll have this, and then disappears because this is the corners. I mean, if you touch it here, it will be your eye socket. Then we'll have this from the top of the nostril down and outward, but very, very tiny. I mean, don't make it too big. And then we'll have the mouth at some point. We'll have to make the mouth at some point. But for 26 minutes, I think this looks pretty cool. Of course, we are not in some kind of a racing here. Who will make it for faster or something? But yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit faster than not. Now, what I will try to do is do this kind of bulges. So the one bulge will go from here, the other bulge will go on the corner of the mouth. Those two bulges, I'm making them a little bit more, and then I'm smoothing them. And they kind of stay there, and then I will kind of go and make those muscles that are making us smile here. Push this area a little bit in, push this area a little bit, and you see we have a very nice kind of a place around the mouth. Here I will push or pull just with a grab brush, and of course we need a mouth. Now the mouth, see, the corners of the mouth are very much pushed in because the mouth is kind of round shape here. So I will push the corners and then make the mouth. You see, when we push the corners of the mouth in, it's very nice because they're finding their space. Now I will make the marionette line, which is from the corner of the mouth down a little bit, and then smooth it, because I don't need exactly a marionette line there, but I need this space to be a little bit more in, and then we have this. You see, it's kind of, let me show you again. So this, and then from here we have this bulge around the mouth, this bulge, and then we have this, which is coming here, and it's making this shadow here and this shadow here, which is this kind of line. Of course, again, I'm emphasizing, don't make them too obvious. In the beginning, you can sculpt them very obvious and then smooth them. So they are there, they're making the shadows, making the forms, but not kind of visibly there, you know, with the sharp lines and stuff like this. So careful, slide, push, pull, and do the stuff. Now, upper lip, M shape, push for the bottom lip, and here on the sides I will pinch, because you see how it's very much thin on the sides. And his lower lip, let's make it like this, and smooth on the sides. Of course, what I like to do always is push the distance between the lips a bit more in, just with a normal grab brush. I can do it or move brush. And then we'll see. But he doesn't look exactly like the concept still, like the scan. And he probably will not look, because I will not do the asymmetry on the face. So the asymmetry on the face is a theme of another course. It's not about here. We are not doing likenesses here. We're not doing realistic, perfectly realistic faces. We are learning how to do basic shapes of the head, which is the most important thing. And without it, you cannot do a proper face. You even, without the knowledge in this course of the shape of the faces, you will not be able to even properly do scans, you know? You will not properly be able to fix scans, for example, if you have to. So, yeah, it's pivotal finding a job in a game studio, even fixing scans or something, to know a face anatomy. Without it, they will not even give you scans to fix, because scans are very, sensitive. You cannot change too much things, and you have to know what to touch and what not to touch, and where to fix, where to smooth, where not to smooth. You have to be very, very careful with the scans. That's why people who are working with scans are very good artists usually. It's not everybody can work on scans. There are scans already in the industry. Anybody can go there and work. No, it's not like that. Nobody wants their scans to be messed up and given to somebody that doesn't know anatomy and will just make them much worse than even a good sculpt, you know? Because yeah, the scans can be worse than a good sculpt if handled incorrectly. In our case, this is looking relatively good. I would say it's fine for the time being. I think I explained a lot of things. Let's see this position here. You see, from the ear down, we don't have this kind of a cut, like this. It's not like super cut like this, because there are a lot of tissues here, and it's kind of soft. But the big transition will be seen from the front because of the muscle and everything. And from here, you kind of see it like cool. But of course, if it is a stylized character, you have to cut it there, most likely. So stylization is a little bit different thing. I will lift his ears, push them a bit, then push this area, smooth this. But this, as I said, is maybe one of the best exercises, because we are seeing a real human, and we can see, of course, we will not underestimate the other exercises where we will work from arts of other artists and try to replicate their work a little bit, just to learn. We will not be able to replicate it fully, probably, especially in this amount of time, and especially, working and making likeness is not easy at all. But, so let's analyze a little bit the eyes here. So for the eyes, let me add a little bit more detail. All right, now smooth. And for the eyes, so the eyeball, the bottom eyeball, the bottom eyelid, the bottom eyelid will go like a round shape. It will be a round shape. And then the eyelid, the eyeball will be inside, of course. And below it, we'll have a kind of indentation. But the eyelid itself can be a little bit inflated, and then smooth it. Don't make it too sharp here if it's not a stylized character. If it's a stylized, you can make it sharper. But if it's not, it depends on your reference, of course. You have to see which things are sharp, which things are not sharp. And in this case, this below the eyes is kind of in. It has shadow, but it's not super sharp. And then this area here is a no man's land. But what is there? What is filling the area of the eye socket in this area here? Because this is the eye socket. This is the inner part of the eye socket. What is there? There are 2 or 3 fat pads, which are like this. So fat pad number 1, fat pad number 2, and number 3. I'm not sure how many exactly are there, but they're there. But in most people which are younger, they're not super visible. They're kind of making a little bit of a, a little bit of a bump in there. In here, it's not exactly a bump. It's even just a planar line or whatever we can call it. It's not a bump, even. But it's there. When we grow older, then they start to sag, and then it becomes ugly. But normal. It's normal to be ugly. Now here I will just, I will just drag a little bit to achieve this shadow. Shadow on the wall. Okay. And all those things that we're doing are connectingly making the character a little bit better each time we're referring to the reference and we are trying to do something like the reference. Of course, this is only if we have made the right decisions in the beginning to make the very much best possible main shapes. If you don't have the main shapes right, most likely then whatever you try to do, it will become futile. I'm not sure how it's called, but it's not good. So be careful about that. Futile. Okay, so our head is kind of, yeah, it's kind of fine already. I think we have it pretty well. Let's look at the ear from up close a bit and how to do it. So I see that this question mark shape, if you touch yourself also or look yourself in the mirror, you will see that you can push your finger here inside. So it's kind of hollow inside, hollow. He is hollow as I go. I should have my flesh and bone. There's no soul. He seems no long. Yeah, I'm singing a little bit. Sometimes when I say hollow, every time I'm thinking about the Pantera song, Hollow, of the band Pantera, if somebody know it. But it's one of my favorite bands, and it's a kind of a thrash metal band, like Slayer. But it's very cool. So if you want to be a good artist, and if you want to do tutorials and make living with the tutorials, you have to listen to Pantera. That's a fact. That's definitely a fact. So be careful and just do it. Just do it. All right, this guy looks cool. I'm always pushing a little bit in the inner point of the ear because I like to not see it from the front view. Now it's a little bit visible, which I'm not completely a fan of, because even in this, without almost any perspective, it's almost visible, but it's not as visible as ours. So, you know, we have to be careful. Also, the ears should not be like this, like wavy. They have to be kind of a straight, not straight, but curvy lines, but not jagged curves, you know. So that's also one thing that we have to be aware of. I'm inflating here, and overall we always check the bottom of the nose and the eyes, the ears, because many people I see are making these ears like down like this, and it looks odd, but you don't know what it is. The ears are too low. You have to make them a little bit higher. That's sometimes can be an issue. All right, I think we are pretty well. It's not exactly looking like our guy, but I think it was a very, very good exercise. I will just push a little bit. You see how around the nostrils you don't push too much on the top part of the nostril. You just push a little bit and then smooth it. Don't overdo the nostrils. Don't do too much the nostrils. I even did it a little bit too much. I will push them in, and then the top part I will push it out. Never do this, the top part of the nostrils, to go too much in. It's it depends on the character, but most of the time it shouldn't be the case. So check your models and fix the nostrils. Overall, good job, guys. If your model from the 3/4 view doesn't have this kind of a cheekbones, you're okay. If it has, just push them in. Alright, this is a model, let's call it Aaron, what is this guy called again? Aaron Hernandez. Okay, since I got this image from his ArtStation, I will call this head Aaron Hernandez. If you write Aaron Hernandez in ArtStation, he will, it has to be as. He doesn't came out. Why? Because he has written his name with the Spanish, some of the, you know, the O has this thing over it and the A has this thing over it, which if I write it in normal English letters, it doesn't recognize it, which is not good. I mean, probably if he wants to be more recognizable, he has to write it just in English, you know. He's from Mexico. From Baja California, Mexico. Okay, now this head is relatively fine. The next video, we should try to make a female head and see what exactly is the difference, maybe, between female and male head. Because there are differences, and we have to analyze them and then make a female head, for example. But we will analyze some differences, and we'll see. So, see you then.